So, oh, look at you sitting there all relaxed. So, right, so we are talking to John Richards of Krypton Environmental, all about pest control, which I have to tell you is a lot more exciting than you might think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, certainly, I write some blogs for John, and I have to say, I found it, a lot more interesting than I would have thought possible. So there you go. But anyway, so this is a little bit about yourself, isn't it, John, and how you came into this. So my first question is just how did you get into pest control in the first place?
By pure accident, to be honest. Didn't leave school and decided I want to be a pest controller. I think it's the same for most, to be fair, but back in sort of 2007 to 2010 or 11, I was working for Swindon Borough Council, and then when the public sector cuts came in, they started to make people redundant and close down departments. So then I was looking for I think I left and went and did some temporary work for a while, like car parts and some industrial cleaning and just sort of temporary jobs here and there. But then I was applying for just all types of jobs to the point where I couldn't even remember what I'd applied for. And one day I got an email or a phone call, I think, from a pest control company, a big national one called Mighty. They're a facilities management company, for an interview. So then I went for my interview, and then I got the job. Then did all my training and got my qualifications, and it went on from there, really.
Fantastic. So that kind of possibly answers my next question, which is how long have you been doing it then? So it's about 12 years now. About
12 years now, yeah. It's gone really quick. About 12 years.
I'm sure it says. So that does lead in as well. So I think one of the things I made a note of that I was going to ask you about. So before you started your own business then, so you started out working for a different pest control.
I was working for a big national company, and I remember doing quite a lot of miles there. I mean, my first 6 weeks training was in Brighton every day, so it was driving to and from Brighton every day for 6 weeks. But yeah, that was just learning the basics of everything. And I remember first starting and thinking, I'm never gonna learn all this, never gonna pick it all up, never gonna remember all this stuff. There was so much to try and take in and absorb. But you do as you go along. And then I did my qualification with them. But when you work for a big company like that, it's all very sort of corporate. So we deal with mainly commercial sites, and they would look after like Mitchells and Butlers and Sainsbury's and all things like that. So it's all very corporate, and it all gets very more audit based than pest control based.
Right.
So they'll come out and audit what you've done, and it's more about getting the paperwork right than it is actually making sure that there's no pests anywhere, So I don't want to go and work for somebody more local and sort of like, have a look on the other side of the fence to see what it was like working more local. And that was brilliant, because then I learned how to deal with domestic work, because you can work in pest control for 12 years or however long for a big national company looking after all these corporate customers, but have zero experience on how to eradicate rats from someone's house, because it's a completely different side of pest control.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I went on to do that, and then I worked for that local company for about 4 or 5 years. And then naturally I wanted to progress. So I worked for another big company, an American company called Ecolab. And I liked what they were about. And I was a salesman there. Surveyor sort of thing. So basically I would be the one that goes out to see new and existing customers, and then we'd obviously sell solutions to problems that they had, for all different types of pests. And we would also speak to new customers as well interested in using Ecolab for their pest control. So I did that for I think 2 or 3 years, but about 2 years I think. But although it was good and the money was really good, I really missed actually doing the pest control. I was just sales and admin, and I really missed being hands-on doing the pest control. So I went back to work for that other little local company for a bit until I started this in June 2019.
Okay, so that's interesting, because obviously then you can't just set yourself up as a pest control operative. There's a whole heap of training and everything to do.
I mean, yeah, people have done it, but you can do your training and everything, but experience does have a big role to play in it as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to have confidence that you can do it, and you know how to use the chemicals and store them, and how everything works, and your confidence that that when you're going to deal with a certain type of pest, that pretty much what treatment you're going to do before you get there.
Yeah.
And even now, I learn things every day, so something that I might see on a job that I've never seen before, well, then, I'll know to look out for that next time I do it. But you're always seeing things that you've never seen before.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Yeah, I can imagine. Every day is different. Is there any like pests that you deal with that you find like quite difficult to deal with? Does it gross you out? I mean, certain things would do me.
Yeah, so
probably most of it would do me.
Yeah, but the main two is probably cockroaches and bed bugs, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're the worst two. And it all really depends how serious it is, but we've been to some pretty serious ones where everything is just infested, and the problem with those is that there's no silver bullet. It's something that takes time. So there's a lot of things the customer has to do, a lot of things that we have to do, and it's something that the longer you leave it, the worse it's just going to get. And
yeah
going to get cockroaches, bed bugs are probably the two hardest to deal with, to be honest.
Okay, because they just take time to clear.
Just take time to clear. I mean, there's nothing anybody's done to get bed bugs. They're purely a traveling insect. It's got nothing to do with who you are or anything like that. You may have just stayed in a hotel or a B&B, or had a friend come round that has done. They've picked them up from there and brought them back in their luggage, and then you're infested. They've become a massive global pandemic ever since the cost of flying to different countries and the cost.
I can imagine. Yeah. Years ago, I went to. I'm sure it was where I picked them up. It must have been. I went to the dogs at Brunston.
Oh yeah.
And I got fleas. I picked up fleas and brought them back home. And I mean, I'm going back a long time now. And I could see the flipping things. They were jumping about, so I had to get the council in to come and spray everything because they were in my bed.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, last year, there was another first for me. I did a flea treatment in somebody's garden.
Yeah.
Foxes living under the shed. Fine, but as soon as you walked in the garden, they're jumping all over your trousers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when you see it, it's freaky, isn't it? Yeah.
But you can pick them up from anywhere.
Yeah, they were sort of in my bed and downstairs, so I'd sit on the bottom of the stairs, and then you'd feel them biting you.
Yeah.
That was really grim. I didn't like that at all, because you can imagine, not fun one bit. So, what was next? I think you've answered a fair bit. Oh, I know. Yeah. So, your company name. Tell us about that. Krypton. I'm assuming you're a Superman fan.
Yes. So when I was sitting thinking of starting a business, and I was wondering what I could call it, I was kind of thinking of names, and I thought, I don't just want to call it John's Pest Control.
No.
And I also wanted it to feel and look like, it was a professional company, and it could grow.
Mm-hmm.
And, it had room to incorporate other things if it wanted to. And I was trying to think of a name, and I remember being sat at home, and I had all these pictures, these Superman posters and pictures of things on the wall, and it just came to me. And then I chose environmental over pest control. Again, just so it doesn't limit us to only do pest control. We do hygiene services as well, like washroom services for commercial customers, and sanitary bins and nappy bins and air fresh units and soap and towel dispensers and all sorts of things like that.
I think it's quite clever, because obviously, as we all know, kryptonite is Superman's nemesis, isn't it? It's the one thing that he can't deal with. So therefore, yeah, you are,
Tonight's a pest.
nemesis to domestic and corporate pests, aren't you?
Yeah.
And which is it very cleverly gives. So I think, pretty much anybody. Also, it's not obscure, is it? I mean, I'm very good at using obscure cultural references. That in my head happened about 3 years ago. And I might write them in a blog or something for a client, and they'll say, "What's this? I've never heard of this." And I look it up, and it's probably like about 20 years back. But in my head, it's not more than 5 years old. This cultural reference.
No, to me, it's just obviously obvious because I love Superman when I was a child. But the amount of people when they ask the company name and they say we can't find you on the system, they're spelling it CRI instead of KRY. To me, it's just seems obvious. But it was again. I remember in the first Superman film in 1978 when Lois is doing his interview and he says, "I'm from a planet called Krypton," and she says, "Oh, well, there's CRI," and he says, "No, KRY," and it happens every day with me.
Yeah. So they're thinking of crypt as in like a church crypt, sort of thing. But so that was sort of many years ago now. But Superman is still very much about, isn't it?
I mean, some people get it. I mean, we've had people specifically choose us and call us because they've been Superman fans as well.
Well, there you go.
Some people honestly call us for the name. And I did some work for a lady in Rodbourne, and again she said that's why we called you, because she said I'm a Superman fan, and she at the end of the job she gave me this big poster that she had in the loft because she had 2 of them. Brilliant.
That's cool.
People do phone us because of the name. We get DC fans and that sort of thing. So
well, I mean, it's only like, I think lots of people, certainly I do, if I'm having a flutter like on the National or something, pick a horse, because if you don't know the form, and anyway, it's a dark art, isn't it? Horse racing form. You just go for the name, don't you? A name that appeals.
There's lots of things that people make decisions on, but occasionally it is just the name.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's really cool. And if you've got, there's a number of companies to choose from, and they've all got similar reviews and similar experience and all that stuff, then that's quite a nice differentiation factor, isn't it?
Sometimes it just does come down to something simple.
Oh, well, well, these are, there's this company, A company, B company, C company, D company, and they all look pretty good. Which one will I go with? Well, I really like the name of that one.
Well, I was really clever with the logo as well. I designed the logo myself, so I was really clever with the crystals and things like that,
I think it's good. I thought as soon as I saw that you'd got that company name, I thought that's rather good. A nemesis for rodents. And all the rest of it. What else did I want to know? I think we've covered a lot. So what's your favourite thing then about what you do, John? The favourite aspect?
The most favourite, probably job satisfaction. And it seems like a weird thing to say. People wouldn't really associate what we do with having job satisfaction.
No, maybe not.
We just assume it's killing things. But quite often we go to people's homes and any type of pest, we wrote a blog about it, any type of pest will have an impact on your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like insects or fleas, or whether it's rats and mice in the walls or anything, these things are keeping you awake at night. They're causing harm by either biting or they're causing damage to your house, and there's always going to be that fear there. So when you go and you speak to someone initially, even before you've even done anything, it's just talking to them, rationalizing the situation, explaining what we're going to do, and also taking those fears out of their mind that rats are going to be coming chewing through the ceilings and falling on them in the bed or whatever. Trying to rationalize that and realistically, how the worst it's probably going to get, which is nothing like they've even thought in their mind. And then down the line, when the job's finished and the rats are gone, people are just so appreciative.
I mean, you're making people's lives better, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, we only went to a job a couple of weeks ago to a lady that had a rat in her bathroom. And she was so scared. And someone who came out to actually deal with the rat problem the day before had gone on holiday, so she had nobody to come. But when we got there, we went up there straight away. She phoned she phoned Andy in the office, and he said, look, I'll get, John will come out as quickly as possible, but I can come up and sit with you until he gets there, because she was in a clear panic.
I can understand that.
He stood outside the front door waiting for me when I got there. But I think we spent about 3 hours there dealing with that rat, and then making sure that nothing else had got in. And since that day, she's never seen another rat. And it's all been sorted and resolved. We found out they were getting in. We dealt with it straight away. But you'll never have met someone who's so happy and so appreciative that it's all. That's why I can
believe it.
Why we do it. We do it obviously for the money. We're running a business, but that's not always the forefront of our mind. We do it to help people.
Yeah. Because it is horrible. I mean, years ago, before I knew you, a long time ago, I had a rat infestation under my sink cupboard, and then they went up into the loft, and it was just awful. And I was away from home for a while at the time, and there were just loads of them. I could tell they were from the racket, so it took a while to get shot of them.
Yeah, I mean, we try and help everyone, but there are people. We get calls quite often from lower income families, or single mums on universal credit, or that. There's no way they can afford a pest control service. This is we're talking about 20. Even something like £20 is the difference between eating or not.
Yeah.
So those people that we do try and help if we can. Whether we always try and offer a discount for anyone who's receiving universal credit and things like that, but also spread the cost if we can, or if there's any way we can help, then we try to. We can't physically just walk away from someone that needs help, because what do they do? There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, I mean, the local councils don't do much, do they now? I mean, they used to do years ago. They did, but
they've stopped their pest control service now. So anyone who's in a council property or a housing association property has to deal with pest control themselves, which I don't agree with, because if it was a private rented property, the landlord would be responsible for certain types of pests, not all, but certain types. Obviously, got a dog or a cat who've got fleas, and that would be their problem. But if they've got rats in the house with a structural defect, then that's not down to their problem. So people in council houses and house associations have it even harder.
Yeah.
These sorts of problems, and we do try and help as much as we can.
Yeah, because they can sort of be caught between two stools there, can't they?
And it's only ever going to get worse.
Yeah,
it'll only ever get worse. So yeah, we try our best for everyone.
And it's a common thing, isn't it? Getting rats. I mean, they're everywhere, and the more we build, the more we're destroying their habitat, aren't we?
Well, like when we build housing estates, we're going over all sorts of habitats, foxes, badgers, birds, everything. But it's a common misconception that you've got rats because of your lifestyle, or you're dirty, or there's food everywhere. And it really isn't the case. 99% of the time, you could have a house, and it could be hoarded from floor to ceiling of rubbish.
Yeah.
But unless rats can find a way into that house.
They've
got to have found a way in the house somewhere, and the only way to find a way in is through a structural defect somewhere.
Yeah.
So they will have to find a way in to get to that rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, when it happened to me, they'd come in through a water pipe that had been installed when the houses were being built, and then not used, the clay water pipe, and then they did that, I have no idea, because then they put plastic ones in alongside it, and the clay one wasn't capped, and that's how they got in. It came up there, through the back of me sink cupboard, and they were in there.
Drainage is another big one. I mean, probably maybe about 70 or 80% of rat jobs we go to are down to faulty sewage systems.
Yeah.
Investigating. It's very, very common. Clay pipes are getting really old now, and they'll start to crack and break, and or if you have new plastic pipes going onto old clay pipes, then the joints can displace, and the gap of about 12 mil.
Oh, it's no, as you say, they're not. I mean, obviously, they can be in dirty kitchens in restaurants and things like that. But domestically, as you say, it's down to they just get in somehow, don't they? Cavity, that'll be a cavity from underground.
Yeah, exactly. They found a way in from somewhere. So although if your house is unclean or tidy, and there's food everywhere, then obviously that isn't going to help the situation when once they're in there.
No, yeah.
But your house could be spotless and it will still come in.
Yeah.
All about there's a structural defect somewhere. They found an entry point and they found a way in, and it really doesn't make no odds or bearing on the hygiene or the cleanliness of a house. It's they found a way in. If you leave doors and windows open all night, they're going to come in. If there's a drain problem, they're going to come in. If there's holes in the back wall, they're going to come in, or the front wall. You know, if you're on a terrace house, there's always a risk that they're going to run through the roof spaces.
Yeah. I mean, that happened too. Well, I mean, you know, I live in a semi-detached house, but yeah, I mean, they got into my loft, and then of course they went across.
Yeah,
to the next door neighbour. Yeah,
exactly.
So we were both infested at the same time. Oh, it was awful. I still have shudders about that, as you can imagine.
It does affect you.
Oh, it does. It was just really, really grim, and you now just the very mention really of the word rat, and I'm like, oh God. Yeah.
But also, it will always have a lasting effect on you, because even when the rats have gone away, you'll hear noises that are just normal noises, but it's going to make you wonder if they're back.
Oh, I definitely do. I mean, it was years ago now, but sometimes I might hear something a bit overhead. It's probably, but it will be only the house creaking or moving. And what's that? Is that something in the loft? Yeah, still, and it's easily. Well, it is about 10 years since this happened.
Yeah, I get it now. We have rats here, but there's a flat roof above here, so sometimes I hear the birds on top, but I wonder if it's them back.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, no, horrible. Okay, then. So your favourite bit is the job satisfaction, and I can totally see that, because obviously, you know, people are having a difficult time with all these things, and you know, you get rid of them like Superman, dead appropriate. But what's your least favourite bit? What don't you like? Is there anything or do you have a least favourite bit?
In pest control, what's my least favourite bit in pest control?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean like admin and stuff like that. I mean about the actual pest control itself.
Heights. Anything to do with heights, going up high.
Oh, okay, right.
That's my kryptonite.
Yeah. We've all got one, haven't we?
Yeah, I struggle with that. So if anything's up high, you know, I get it done, but you know, if I 3 times as long as I would have anyone else, so I always have to be extra careful and cautious. But heights is the worst. I mean, luckily, most of the stuff we deal with, like wasp nests up high, we've got equipment where we can do it from the ground, like, you know, poles that are reached right up to the chimney.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, most of the time we don't need to go up high unless we're actually working on the roof. We've got to fix holes that squirrels have got into, or we've got to proof up solar panels for pigeons or that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. That wouldn't be your favourite thing. I mean, some people are quite high, aren't they? I mean, sorry, you know, quite happy being up high.
Yeah, some people love it, but yeah, it's not for me.
I know. Yeah, I mean, many years ago, when my dad, you know, worked in the pit, and one of his colleagues at work used to hate like going down in the cage, you know, down to all the time. He hated it. But then they both used to go steel erecting, and he was quite happy there out on the beams, you know, which my dad was less keen on, but he never ever enjoyed, you know, going down the cage in the lift shaft.
I often watch that video with the workmen building the Empire State Building.
Yeah,
I know. No safety equipment or harness.
I know.
The girders. I just no way. Made a different stuff then, people.
They are sitting there with the sandwiches, or I mean, I can't believe that's not put up, because we didn't have Photoshop back then, did we? So
well, they built that quicker than they did the works at the Right Art Roundabout. So
I should think everything's been quicker. I should think Dresden was rebuilt after the, you know, we flattened it in World War II. And the Mead Way, let's not forget Mead Way, 2 years old now.
Yeah, we could have had 3 Empire State Buildings in that time.
We could, absolutely. Was there anything else? I think that is probably the main. There was something was there on the back of my mind, which I've gone no. Oh, I know. Have you got like a favourite story? You know, anything to do with the job, one particular tale? I mean, like today on Facebook, I just thought that was quite sweet that you retrieved this hamster that somebody
the hamster, yeah, we found the hamster. Well, funnily enough, today Andy found a gecko.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he found a gecko, so he's taken that back with him now, and he's got to take it to exotic pets to get it like properly identified which type it is. But it's nothing native to the UK. We've googled it, and there's three types of lizard you get in the UK, and there's not one of them. So
that's interesting.
So I'll be keeping that, getting a little vivarium for him. I think
that is interesting.
I think probably one of the stories that stands out to me is probably the nightclub in town, I think.
Oh, right. Well, tell me that then.
Well, it was one of the nightclubs right down the bottom on Fleet Street, and it had been closed for 2 or 3 years. And a property developer had bought it and then gave planning permission to turn it into flats.
Yeah.
He called me up last January it was, saying that, you know, there's a lot of rats in there and we've got to get rid of them first. I said, okay, yeah, we'll come out and have a look. And we couldn't go around the front from Fleet Street because it was all boarded up, so we had to go around the back through the cellar. We opened the cellar door. Bearing in mind the power has to stay off because for insurance reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We opened the door and there was just, you couldn't see the floor for rats. The floor was just moving. There was 100. I mean, there must have been about 200 rats in that little cellar alone.
Oh.
They were running past the door and going down the ducting for the beer pumps and everything, and you literally have to stand and wait for them to calm down before you can walk through.
Yeah, because they are very, I mean, they're really very nervous animals, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Very skittish, aren't they?
Any loud noises already, they see someone coming in, they'll scatter.
Yeah.
He walks through and then walks into the bar area, and you could see him all over the bar, all over the dance floor there, or you could hear him behind you and above you. The little room behind the bar that the switch was for the power, when you can see him running past the door where that box was. He's like, you got to get through there to get to the box.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to get in and turn the power on. And then once all the power came on, it quietened right down, but you still see the odd one running here and there, and it caused so much damage in there. There was just so many rats, it was unreal. But we did get control of the rats in the end, and we got rid of them all. I think it took a lot of bait. I mean, there was about sort of like 25 kilos of bait in the end of the whole 3-story building. But the landlord thought that the rats were chewing in from the back door because there's a big chew hole in the back door, and he said they were chewing in, or they chewed in from the back because that's where the bins are. And I actually said to him, no, it's not. They've actually chewed out from the inside to get in. So the reason why all these rats were there was because if you think of a nightclub and how many toilets you've got, all on the ground floor, I mean, the female toilets is probably going to have 10 stalls in. You got the same, you got the men's, and what you've effectively got is, you know, 15 open sewers.
Yeah.
On the ground floor of the building. Remember, it's ground floor, so they don't have that far to climb through the sewage system.
Yeah.
It's been for 2 to 3 years. All the water's dried up.
Yeah.
So 15 open sewers. So they've just been coming out of the toilet one after the other over the years and breeding and just made up. So I said to the landlord, you need to post-crate up the toilets as soon as possible. So we did that, dealt with the rest of the rats, and they were gone. But I'll be honest with you, the first time I went with the landlord wasn't so bad. I had to keep my composure and stay professional. But all the other times I had to go back by myself because there was a key, the combination lock on the door. And it wasn't that nice, to be fair.
No, I bet.
It wasn't very nice. I don't think I'll ever forget that story, but it wasn't the nicest one, I'll be honest.
No, I would. I would just die. I wouldn't be able to do it. I am in awe of you and any pest controllers, really. That I
mean, we go into these jobs, and we go to rodent jobs and any type of job, and we know what to expect, and we're quite comfortable with what we do, but every now and then a job will come over that will make any pest controller shudder and turn white. And they do come in from time to time.
Yeah.
That was probably one of them for me. And it's one of the things you just got to sort of compose yourself and get on and do it. But the job does come in from time to time with any pest controller, no matter how long you've been doing it, that will send a shiver up your spine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. What was hoping you would, because I happen to know about it, is the bees. I thought that was a lovely story.
Oh, rehoming the bees.
Yeah, when you rehomed those bees. That was a really story with a happy ending, didn't it?
It was really, yeah. They were nesting in this guy's chimney, but normally if they're that high up out the way, they don't. you can sort of leave them alone.
Mm.
The only thing you need to watch out for is, as they're producing honey, is whether it's going to damage the property in any way, if it's going to start damaging plasterboard or electrics or anything.
Yeah.
Not, then they're kind of fine to stay. But these were in his chimney. And the only reason he had to go is because these bees kept coming down the chimney into his living room, and him and his wife were just getting stung every single day.
Oh.
So, you know, they had to go. We don't treat bees at all, to be honest. We'll always rehome, remove, but we never treat or kill bees.
No, yeah. Oh goodness, no. Well, we need all the bees we can get, don't we?
Absolutely. So yeah, we don't do anything with bees except rehome. So what we had to do is get scaffolding built up to the chimney. It was a listed cottage. I'd get it built up to the chimney, and then we had to get a builder to go up, and I had to let him wear my wasp suits, my bee suits, if we get stung.
Yeah.
I had to go up and remove a section of bricks from the side of the chimney, and also the top of the chimney. So then when we went up, you could see the honeycomb in the side and in the top. There was quite a lot of honeycomb in there. So the first thing we did, we had a vacuum, which then went into a nucleus box, which is kind of a portable mobile hive.
Right.
So we sucked all the bees up into the nucleus box, and then we started to remove the honeycomb, and there was a lot of honeycomb.
Yeah.
It took quite a few hours, to be fair.
It would.
So we got the honeycomb all out and everything, and then all the bees safe, and then we took them to the bee sanctuary over in the Stanton Fitzwarren park, in the park there, and took them to the bee sanctuary there, where they got taken out and put into their new hive. And as far as I'm aware, they're still there now.
Oh, well, I think that's really fab, because of course, I mean, that was had all been vandalised, hadn't it?
It was a couple of years prior.
Prior to this happening, yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. But he started to build his hives. He had, by that time he was building his hives back up, and he had quite a few swarms. So yeah, as far as I know, like, they're still going, and they're still building their hives up. So
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, because I mean, that was a shocking event, wasn't it? That the vandalising of it. And so, I think, was it a crowdfunding thing? I think because he was go, I can't do this again. I'm giving up.
He did, yeah, but I think there was so much support,
Yeah.
He carried on. He had lots of support to help rebuild the hive.
Build it all, yeah. So that was really nice. I think that you were able to get those bees from there and take them over to Stanton to him. I think that was a nice ending. To that story.
It's always a nice story when we get to save some bees,
Well, yeah, because our goodness knows the government are doing the best to destroy them.
Yeah, we've relocated bumblebees, and then when you get solitary bees, mining bees, masonry bees, and that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I knew about solitary bees and bumblebees. That was about it. But there are a lot of more, aren't there? Different types of bees.
Loads, and it's nice to get a little bee box and put it in your garden. So there'll never be a nest, but each of those little tubes will house one bee, and they'll hibernate for the winter, and then you'll see them again in the spring. And it's nice to have them in your garden and see them going in and out, and they wouldn't bother you in the slightest.
No, I mean, bees don't. I mean, as you know, I'm not all that great with nature, but bees I don't mind because they don't bother you. I used to have an apple tree in the garden, which I want to get rid of because I couldn't cope with it, the maintenance of it. But in the spring, when it was covered in blossom, it was like you could sit under there and it was alive with bees.
Yeah.
They didn't bother you. You could just lie there and sort of drift away, on a warm day to the sound of the bees.
Yeah. There has been the odd time where we've been to a honeybee swarm and they've been really aggressive.
Yeah.
And that normally happens if they haven't got a queen and they can't accept a new queen. If the hive hasn't got a queen, they'll become really, really, really aggressive.
Oh, okay.
And then it also makes it really harder to relocate them if they're not going to accept another queen, and they become dangerous. So sometimes depending on where it is, you need to make a decision about what to do. But luckily, it doesn't happen very often, to be honest. I think twice I've come across that in my career.
I was really interested. I mean, you're like a font of all knowledge, aren't you, on all this stuff? I find it endlessly fascinating. And obviously, like you say, I mean, you have a fair amount, at the very beginning, you know, from your work with the council through to everybody you'd worked for and stuff, but as you're obviously learning the whole time, aren't you?
Yeah, always
yeah.
have to learn. You always have to be open-minded, you know. And one of the things we do here, because we're members of the British Pest Control Association.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about that. Okay, yeah.
It means that we have to one, we get audited every 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Make sure that everything we're doing is right, and we work towards within their code of conduct. There's a standard they set that they expect their members to work towards, and that's what we do. But it's also we have to we're members of the BC. What's it, CPD scheme, sorry, the CPD scheme as well. So it basically means that we constantly have to do training throughout the year to accumulate our CPD points. And it helps us with our knowledge, and it helps us to keep up to date with things, because you can't retain everything, so it helps to fresh on things. And it's kind of like, if we don't, then we'll lose that accreditation, so we have to keep up with the training, which we do. So we always have regular training and refreshers and that sort of thing.
Okay, that's really great. So, no, thanks for all that, John. That is really fascinating, I have to say. Well, who knew that pest control could be so interesting?
It's always different every day. It's always different, you know, and no two jobs are the same, which is why it's a very enjoyable industry to work in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. Thanks for that, John. I've enjoyed all that. I will turn that into something for us.
Thank you.
Make sure I've saved this thing now. I need to cut that bit off the end. All right then, John. Thanks for that. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Angela.
Bye for now, John. Cheers.
Bye.
I will end. Stop recording.